Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I'm going to show you how to make a super cute card with this stamp set called Hippest Hippos, and we're going to make a little ballerina hippo. Before we jump in, I just want to mention that there's a couple days left to take advantage of my specials. If you go to my website, which is also my blog, and click on Shop Now, you'll be redirected to my online store. And now through June 30th, which is just a couple days away, if you order $50 worth of merchandise and use this host code at checkout, I am sending out a free gift, and it is a package of the rustic metallic dots for free. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because we only have a couple days left. The stamp set that I'm showing you is in our SaleABration brochure, which I'm so excited about. It's time for SaleABration. This will begin on July 1st and go through the end of August. I want to show you the stamp set in the brochure. It's pictured here on page 4, and this stamp set can be earned for free with a $50 purchase. Now remember, this begins in July. This is different than the special that I mentioned at the beginning, which is just from me as your demonstrator. This is a Stampin' Up! Promotion. So with a $50 purchase, you can choose this as a free gift. Now let me also show you that they have the most adorable dies. Now this is a separate gift with a $50 purchase. So if you are getting ready in July to place an order, I would encourage you to aim for that $100 level so that you can get both the stamp set and the dies absolutely free. Now there are a bunch of other wonderful free gifts with purchase in here, but we are going to stick to our hippo card right now. Now what I've done is I already have the base of our card created. This is the card we're going to work on, but because it's already put together, I'm going to back up and we're going to go through those steps. So these are different colors, but at least you can see the steps for our setup process, and then we'll jump back in and go to the actual card base that we're using today. So for this card design, which is not a new one to us here on my channel, we're starting with a base. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This particular one is crushed curry, but remember, this isn't going to be our finished project. All right, then I have a piece of cardstock. This is garden green, and this is 3 1/4 by 8 1/2. And it needs to be scored so we can fold it. So I'm going to score that at 4 1/4. So we can fold it in half for our project. So laying this on my trimmer, using only the scoring blade, and careful not to use the cutting blade. I'll get that scored at 4 1/4. All right, then we have some designer series papers. The ones that I'm showing you right now are from Tea Boutique, but the papers that we're using on our finished project are actually some retired papers that I had from a couple of seasons ago. So you're going to need one piece that measures 3 inches by 4 inches, and you're going to need a complementary pattern. You'll need 2 of these, and these are 1 inch by 4 inches. All right, so let's put these together. Your 3 by 4 piece of DSP is going to go onto that folded piece that we just created. The fold is going to be at the top, but I flipped it around just so I could kind of hold it shut as I'm lining up my paper. And I'm using liquid glue for this step. All right, then this piece, which is now decorated with DSP, is going to go on here. I'll tell you how I do it. I line it up on grid paper or on my grid mat. just to kind of get it centered and straight. And then I find the center of this measurement, which is going to be at 2 3/4. So this is going to be the center of my paper. So I'm just going to make sure that the center of this piece is right about at the center of the base piece. All right, so that way I get it lined up and my sides are as equal as possible without actually measuring anything. Now, I've showed this before on a different, this was probably one of the Father's Day cards that I did like this. I'm gonna actually turn this piece around because I want this folded edge to be lined up really, really well with my base piece. If there's any that's hanging off, I want it to be left over here. All right, so back to my liquid glue. I know I kind of moved everything after showing you how I lined it up, but now I can line it up again quickly and get my placement. All right, there is center. And I'm going to press that down. Again, I have time to check and see if I like those borders right there. I do. They're fine. All right, and then I'm going to flip the whole thing over so I can press it really well without having to rub my fingers on that designer series paper. All right, so now it's attached. The fold is at the top. I can check this edge here. You can see that there's no garden green hanging off, which is great. We don't need to do anything. If there was a little edge hanging off, you could take your scissors and trim it at that point. All right, and then our two little side pieces go on next. Again, these are 1 inch by 4 inches. And this print seems to be, well, the pieces that I cut seem to kind of have a direction, although this little green piece is pointing down. These are pointing up. So I'm going to choose this as the right way. So I'm going to lay this next to my green piece. This one feels really long. Let me double check that I cut it right. Nope, it's 4 1/4. I thought it felt long. All right, so I am going to cut 1/4 inch off of this in a pinch. Not what I recommend. So I'm going to lay it down here, and I do want to make sure that it is right up against the green cardstock. So see, with my liquid glue, I have a little bit of time to wiggle that into place. Nicely done. All right, let's check this one, which is also supposed to be 4 inches, and it indeed is. So I don't know what happened when I cut that other one. All right, so we've got this one down, and I'm right up against my green folded piece, like so. All right, that is the placement of your papers. So now we're going to bring in our actual project. Oh, and I'll show you, we're going to use a piece of white. Depends on what color this is when you choose your color scheme. If it's rather dark, you can always put a white piece on the inside. This piece is 3 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to set this aside. I'll complete it later for a different card. And we're going to bring in this one. So now you've seen all of the steps up to this point, and I am going to use the white on the inside of this. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that because then we can get it in place. I'm going to stamp it first, just in case I was to make a mistake, I can flip it over. I wouldn't have that luxury if it was already glued down. I'm just getting this stamp out for the first time today, so I am going to do my little practice run. Okay, it says love you a ton. That's very cute for a hippo set. All right, so I've got that stamped and in place on the inside, for the inside of my card. So we can attach that as well. And my liquid glue is getting a little low, so since it completely doesn't matter what you use, I'm going to reach for my Stampin' Seal to finish this piece. Okay, so this is going to go on the inside. I'm eyeballing the top, the bottom, and the two sides to get them somewhat equal and lay it down. All right, so there's the inside. We're going to come back and fix that up a little bit fancier in just a moment. Let's work on the front. So what I have here is just a scrap of basic white cardstock. I'm going to stamp my hippo onto this piece. Now, something you might consider doing is using your STAMParatus for this step, because then you could stamp your hippo, and if it's not dark black enough, if you want a little bit bolder, you could open the hinge, re-ink, and close it to stamp a second time. In the interest of time, I'm not going to use my STAMParatus. I have stamped her a couple times, and as long as I ink it up really good, I'm going to be happy with it. All right, so she's going to go right here on this scrap, because in just a moment, I'm going to pull in the die and cut that out. All right, so there's our little hippo ballet dancer. Now I'm going to add some color with my Stampin' Blends. Now the color of my base on this card is Petal Pink, which I do think is an interesting color. It's not quite like a baby pink. If you've been around Stampin' Up, you might remember Pink Pirouette was a cleaner, crisper, soft pink. This is a little bit of a muddy pink to me, but it looks super good with the designer paper that I had on hand, so that's what I'm using. So my Stampin' Blends are Petal Pink. I'm going to use the lightest of the two. And I'm going to stamp her little face, not stamp, color her little face with Petal Pink Light. And I've also colored this cute little hippo just in all shades of gray, which is cute too, but because this is going to be a card for a little girl, and we're using that pink, I wanted it softer. I didn't want like the color of the hippopotamus to be just all gray. So her face is light petal pink. I'm also doing kind of this underbelly area in the lighter pink. And as I looked at the image, I think that right down here is also that same part of her little underbelly. Like so. All right, then I'm going to take my light of Smoky Slate and color the rest of her head. And I so love the way that these Stampin' Blends color. You can almost just get right next to the outline of where you're trying to stop, and the color just softly flows. I'm telling you, it makes you feel like such a good colorer. Even if it's really not your thing. For a long time, I would steer away from stamp sets that required a lot of coloring in. And I've gone back to them now because of Stampin' Blends and really actually enjoy a little bit of coloring. All right, so there's her body. I'm going to do her legs in this same gray. I'm going to stop just above the toe because we're going to make those pink ballet slippers. All right, so even though you have to color her in, it went really fast. Let me do a couple of other things. I'm going to take the darker of the petal pink and color her ears. Now, this isn't a big difference from the light, but it's a teeny bit darker. So I'm just making the ears stand out a little bit with this dark petal pink. And then I'm also going to go down here because I figure underneath her tutu, it might be a little bit darker, like a shadow. So I'm just going to color that with the darker pink. While I've got it out, I'll do her ballet slippers. And then what I like to do is take a darker pink that's also brighter. This is Flirty Flamingo. This is light. And I'm going to give her some little pink fingernails. But I felt like it needed a little pop of more color than that soft pink. I don't know, what do you think? And then what I'm also going to do with Flirty Flamingo Light is give her a teeny bit of blush. I don't want to overdo it, but I just want a teeny bit of rosy cheek over here and over here. While I'm at it, I'm going to add just a hint of pink lips. I didn't even do like the whole smile, just a tiny little touch right in the center. So she's done with the exception of her tutu. I'm going to leave it white. I really like the pink, white, and gray, but it needs a little something. So I'm grabbing Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to color the entire little dance skirt or tutu with my Wink of Stella. And I am being careful around the black outline just to make sure that it doesn't bleed. I don't think it will, but I am taking a little care. And then it's probably very hard to see, but it's got a soft glimmer. And then I'm going to go over it a second time. Wink of Stella is really hard to pick up its subtle shimmer effect on camera, but in person you can definitely see the glimmer. And it's so nice because it's not glued on glitter that's going to fall off and make a mess. So let me see if I can get this up here and maybe you can catch the glimmer. All right, so this is going to go with the coordinating die and get run through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And let's go ahead and go to the cutout piece. Okay, so we're ready to do the front of the card. I'm going to reach for another scrap of that white cardstock. Actually, I need to grab another piece because I don't think that it's going to fit on the piece I have left here. So let me stretch off camera here and grab a scrap. Okay. So I'm going to stamp the words, "You're always on point," which of course goes with the dance theme. And then I just grabbed what I had, and that's what I encourage you to do. If you have the set of layering circles dies, you can probably just grab those dies and do all of this. I reached for punches. So these are punches that aren't currently available, but if you've been stamping for a while, you probably have them in your tools. So I have a 1-inch circle punch that I'm just going to pop those words out with. And then I have a 1 1/4 inch circle punch. So anything slightly larger than that one will work, whatever you have in your craft room. And that was out of Petal Pink. And then I have a scrap of Real Red. And I've got one more punch. This one was a 1 3/8 scallop punch. So again, in your layering circles dies, I'm sure you have some concentric circles that'll work just fine. Or if you have your punches, great, grab them. All right, we're gonna attach these in layers. So here's my words. Onto the Petal Pink. Then we're going to put those 2 circles onto the red. So it's very subtle, our words here, but it's bringing out all 3 of our colors from the card and the designer series paper. So I've got my white, pink, and red. When you're gluing, especially tiny little things, and especially with the liquid glue, sometimes you end up sticky and you just can't get it off. So something that I have in my drawer right here at my stamping desk are these little alcohol prep pads. You can get these from Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below. You could also use just a bottle of alcohol and a cotton ball, but I don't like the mess of pouring and potentially spilling in my workspace. So these are brilliant. So you just open one of these and pop them out, and you can clean up that residue that might be on your fingers from the glue. Just fantastic. While it's out, you can also, if you need to, clean your scissors if they got sticky from any glue, being super careful on the sharp edges, of course. This is one of the things I show in my tips and trick video that I will also link to this video. Okay, so we are going to start attaching our little pieces here. This is going to go up here, top left. This is, I feel like there's a smudge on here. Let's see if we can take care of that little smudge too. It's probably glue. There we go. All right, and then as I was laying out this card, this is actually a copy of a card that I made for my 4-year-old granddaughter who had her dance recital recently, and so I wanted to make this for her. So as I was getting ready to put this into place, I thought that it needed something. So I did reach for something called a wobble. These are wobbles. They are not a Stampin' Up! Item, but you can get them from Amazon. Be careful. In fact, I'll put the link to these down below in the description, because the first time that I bought them, I didn't pay attention to the size, and they were huge. They were way too big for stamping projects. I don't know what they would be used for, but so this size is perfect. And I'll show you what we're going to do with the wobble. There is a adhesive on both sides with a little backing paper. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to help me pry this off. And on what I would consider the smaller side, it's going to go and get attached to my image. And then the part that I would consider the bigger side goes onto your card or your base, okay? So let's see if I can get this started here. There we go. So it's just a backing, and you need to get it to pull off. There's that one. Now I can attach this to the back of my hippo. And then I'll remove the backing from this part. Oh, this one's in 2 pieces. All right, and then when she goes right here on point, then she wiggles and dances. And I will tell you that as soon as my granddaughter opened this card, that is what she did for the next 5 minutes. She just kept playing with it. She thought it was really adorable. So it's totally worth throwing a wobble on there and allowing your image to have some movement. All right, let's put our words on. It's kind of a heavy and thick piece because it's got several layers. So in this case, I am going to use a little bit of tear and tape. Nobody's going to see it, so it doesn't even need to be pretty. I'm going to put 2 small strips on the back and then release that backing as well. All right, so there we have our little dancing hippo. We've got the words. Now what I did ahead of time is I took some other dies that are in the die set that go with this stamp set. Okay, let me see what the dies themselves are called. The stamp set is called Hippest Hippos. Okay, so that's easy. The dies are just called Hippo dies. So I grabbed the flowers and the hearts, and my 2 cardstock colors and just cut a bunch of those out ahead of time. And so now we're just gonna start attaching these. I'm going to show you something. You are probably going to say, duh, like I can't believe that you had to think of this. But when I have a tiny little piece like this, and then you're trying to put the glue on and you're trying to turn it over and stick it on, you know what? Don't bother. Just kind of lay these out where you think you're going to want them. So I'm going to do a flower and a couple of hearts. Like that, okay? It's pretty random. And then just scoot it out of the way. Put your dot on here, and then you can just stick it on. It makes so much more sense than trying to hold on to a tiny little piece, flip it over, put the glue on it, and then flip it back over. So just put your glue onto the project. All right, so I've got my 3 little pieces. This one I still can't pick up. Good thing it didn't have glue on it. All right, I've got those on there, and then look how cute. We're gonna put a few hearts on here as well. So let's do a big one here, and a small one. Here's a tiny one. Yeah, let's use a tiny one. I'm trying to get this in place where I want it. There we go. That's where I want it. All right. And then on this side, I think I will do more of a medium one. Get it right side up. It does have a difference. The top side and the bottom side do look a little bit different. All right, so this side has a medium, and let's put a little baby one down here. All right, so this piece would have been impossible to work with if I was holding it and putting the glue on. So you might find that helpful. All right, there's the front of our card. I'm so in love with it, and I'm telling you that Wink of Stella is just so glimmery. And then let's finish up on the inside. We've already got our words. We have all these cute little pieces that have already been cut out, so let's use those to decorate the inside. So I'll put a big flower up here. And maybe a heart. I think this is the medium size. So we'll get that in place. And then I have one other thing that I'm imagining needs to go on here. All right, there's our, ooh, I just lost it. Okay, here we go. Here's the challenge. It's got glue on it, folks. There we go. All right, so pink, hearts, flowers, super cute for a little girl. And then I think it needs a couple rhinestones. So let's just put rhinestones on our flowers there. So I'm going to take kind of a medium size one. Let's see if I can get under this. There we go. I'm going to get a medium size one for my big flower. And a small one for my little flower. Oops, get up there. There we go, and there you have it. An adorable hippo card with a wobble so that she can dance her way across the stage, and the inside, just enough room to leave a message and sign your name. So this is our hippo card of the day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you absolutely love this and feel like you have got to have these hippos. As I mentioned, the stamp set and the dies can be free with purchase. And if you do not already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to serve you as your demonstrator. And you can find me at Stamp with Julie Baum. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.